Followed lastly by Nigel Barriffe, who is a community organizer with the elementary teachers with the Toronto District School Board, and he's been a union activist involved with the Green Economy Working Group of the Good Jobs for All Coalition. So an important activist inside the union movement, struggling kind of for the wider dimensions of green work issues.
And to Greg and Lana, thanks for organizing this. I think the Center for Social Justice and the work that you're doing is crucial at this point. I think John Riddell, I don't mean to call you out like that, and John Sharkey and John Bell are all in the audience. We've worked together on a number of different issues, and I'm really glad to see you guys here. I know we did at the beginning pay respect to Mississauga Port Credit, but as a African Canadian Caribbean, my shared path with 500 years of colonialism has left our children inheriting Mother Earth at what might be her weakest point since creation. Climate change, the increasingly extreme weather changes, the disproportionate cancers in Athabasca River First Nations, the crisis in Attawapiskat mirror the disproportionate involvement of black youth in the criminal justice system and their educational outcomes. And thanks to all of you who are here to listen and share today for your commitment to equity and social justice. As a school teacher and community organizer in Ford Nation, my mind has been molded by the lens of intersectionality and praxis of race, class, gender, sexual choice and identity, disability, and all other isms that share the historical trauma of white supremacy, colonialism, patriarchy, and a misogynistic attitude perpetuated by capitalism. I'd like I was asked to speak about today is my involvement, or is about the Good Jobs for All Coalition and its goals and its work, and how we link to the struggle for green jobs, precarious work, which is often not only unsustainable but ecologically damaging, and some suggestions for moving forward that I hope aren't greenwashing, Steve. So Good Jobs for All, who are we? The Good Jobs for All Coalition is an alliance of community, labor, social justice, and environmental organizations in the Toronto region. It was formed in 2008 to start a focused dialogue to improve living and working conditions in Canada's largest urban centre. The coalition's goal is to develop strategies that affirm the values of a truly just society, healthy communities, a sustainable economy, strong public services, equity, and decent work for all. The coalition held a one-day summit, the Green Jobs for All of Greater Toronto, on Saturday, November 22nd in 2008 at the Metropolitan Toronto Convention Centre, where more than 1,000 participants shared experiences and engaged in an extensive dialogue about good jobs and what policies are needed to ensure that there are good jobs for all, both today and the next generation. Participants witnessed the signing and endorsement of the Good Jobs for All Greater Toronto Declaration, a statement representing our collective voice and the vision that we want for the GTA. The Good Jobs for All Coalition is following through on implementing the action plan which came out of the summit, including organizing joint campaigns and supporting each other's efforts. This being carried out by 3 working groups with the themes of empowering workers, the green economy for all, and investing in social infrastructure. Currently we are focused on a number of initiatives that I won't be able to share all of them with you today, but I will share what I feel are a couple of very significant ones. The first one is the Rights and Dignity at Work campaign. These days, more and more people are in temporary part-time jobs and are left feeling insecure and anxious about their future and the future of their children. This is a broken situation and will not get better unless we come together and take action. We need a collective voice at work, as well as support from all our communities when we fight for our rights at work. Governments must pass laws that help bring fairness and justice to the workplace. The Rights and Dignity at Work campaign will strengthen our ability to be able to speak up at work. It will strengthen support and government action to help the fight for rights and dignity at work. Workers must be able to join unions and maintain union rights without their fear for losing their jobs. Our other campaign right now is the Fix or Employment Insurance Campaign. The federal government has made drastic changes to the employment insurance and temporary foreign worker program. In particular, unemployed workers and migrant workers will be forced into lower wages. These aggressive measures are part of an ongoing flexible labor agenda from the Harper government, a race to the bottom where workers continue to be squeezed more and more. Flexible means lowering workers' expectations in terms of wages, benefits, and working standards. Those who do not have full-time guaranteed employment throughout the year will be most impacted by changes to employment insurance. Roughly 2/3 of current recipients would be punished for not being able to find jobs. Lower paid workers who accept employment while on benefit will be penalized for taking a precarious job by a reduction in their benefits. Other changes include eliminating labor representatives at the EI appeal process. Now, some of the work that has come out of the particular committee that I was working on with Carolyn Egan is called the Community Benefits Agreement around transit. Now, Metrolinx is building the light rail transit, the LRT network, worth $8.4 billion across Toronto. The Good Jobs for All Coalition is working with a number of community groups and unions to achieve a community benefits agreement that residents from marginalized and low-income communities have a chance at some of the jobs created between now and 2020. The Eglinton-Scarborough Crosstown Community Benefits Agreement is a legally binding agreement between Metrolinx and the Toronto Community Benefits Network. The CBA is founded on a shared commitment by both parties to build and complete public infrastructure projects through an effective, efficient, transparent, and fair inclusive process that supports good jobs and prevailing industry standards. The goals of the Community Benefits Agreement include providing equitable economic opportunities that promote economic inclusion for all Toronto residents, contributing to the development of a system of training and workforce development programs that can enable economic inclusion, support social enterprises and other related vehicles to economic inclusion through commitments to social procurement, contribute to neighborhood improvements through building new transit infrastructure, and to ensure commitments and accountability from all parties to deliver this agreement. Another research component to the work is called the Green Gap Toward Inclusive in Toronto Green Employment. So the Good Jobs for All Coalition is acting as in an advisory role to Ryerson University and the University of Toronto on a Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council Canada grant, academics call it SHIRT grant, that examines Toronto's transition to green jobs and the green economy with a focus on green energy related sector. The objectives of this research are to foster a better understanding of the green energy sector and the green economy based on a dialogue between key stakeholders in Toronto and to investigate pathways for community and stakeholders to build capacity to frame the transition to a green economy in a more socially inclusive terms. Now, some suggestions for moving forward. For the last couple of minutes, I'd like to talk about what are some of perhaps critiques or thoughts about what kinds of improvement the coalition might take on its work. One of the critiques we've heard is that the coalition is too union dominated and that community voices, and sometimes that can mean groups that have been historically marginalized who don't have unionized positions, do not have a sufficient voice at the table. And so the coalition ends up representing groups of people that have been relatively better off in the system. Some of the things we try to do to address this equity issue involve contributing to issues that may not seem directly connected to good jobs, but are equity focused. For instance, the carding issue. The Toronto Star has done a large research on the contact cards that affect a lot of young people within marginalized communities. So the Good Jobs for All Coalition has ongoing contributions to the carding issue. We've partnered with groups like the Urban Alliance on Race Relations and Positive Change, issuing letters to the editors, to policy statements, and to hosting community forums. Martin Luther King Day last year, we held the Race and Forum, a Race and Work Forum, and where we discussed the disparities between racialized workers and our white counterparts. We've also been hosting EI roundtables, EI roundtables around the city of Toronto, so we can really kind of connect to grassroots organizations. So the Good Jobs for All Coalition continues to build deeper relationships with grassroots community groups in suburban neighborhoods like Scarborough and where I teach in Etobicoke North. I have to admit that certain topics have been sensitive to the union movement, like jobs arising from the oil and gas industry. They continue to be controversial. Great things that grassroots organizations in this room are doing around the pipeline issue, the coalition has not taken a stance on. I believe that it is through discussion and around this issue that we can come to decisions that are more equitable. Something that I hope will come up in our Q&A to follow that I think would be fair for community to raise is a question that who are the first people to lose their job in the oil patch when the price of oil drops? Have we been effectively reaching out to these people? A lot of people who are in non-unionized positions in Fort McMurray, for example, working at Tim Hortons or as taxi drivers, are recent non-white immigrants to Canada. And as always, the first people who are hurt in economic downturn are people who are racialized or class marginalized working in non-unionized positions. Being able to understand these people, where these people are coming from, is part of the step towards building broader coalition for good green jobs. Obviously, a Somali taxi driver in Fort McMurray will suffer if oil prices go down, as their whole family is dependent upon their wage. Understanding this reality is something we have to take into consideration. There has been a lot of great work done by people within the coalition, and I don't have time to share with all of you all of that work, but I'll be happy to answer those questions. Thank you.